Hey guys, good morning and welcome to the video. This is where I start to look at painting the outside of the house. Super excited to have a change on the facade on the outside of the property. There is a little bit of preparation. Let me walk you through what we're looking at here. Happy travels! Hi, I'm Matt Guy, and I bought this beautiful $6,000 house in the deep snow country of Myokokogen in Japan, 10 minutes away from some of the best ski resorts in the country. This is my property renovation and lifestyle series, where I'll be teaching you how to do the same thing that I'm doing. Or you can just follow along if you want to see my journey. I've also traveled extensively through Japan and have visited all 47 prefectures in the country. I've hiked some of the highest peaks and been to countless numbers of ski resorts. You can check my Instagram for more adventures too, at im.macguy. Thanks for subscribing and for your support. Happy travels! You might notice at the top there that the color is a little bit different above the windows. That's probably the original color at the top, where they've changed it to this creamy color at some point. There isn't too many repairs I can see here. Just this corner maybe, this angle. I'll just fill that up with some caulking, most likely, something flexible. There's a product that we would use in Australia called Sikaflex. That's what I would put in there. I'll see what I can get here. In terms of preparation, there's not too much. I'm going to start by washing this down, then going for the eaves, painting the eaves, and then the walls. Haven't quite decided about the fascia yet. And for those that don't know, the eaves is that kind of ceiling part under the roof there. So I'll do the eaves for sure. They need to be done. These fascias, the front part here where the gutter is, I haven't decided. I'm going to see how they wash up. I don't think they're too bad, but if I have the time, I will for sure do that. I'm going to start here on the front side. It looks like the easiest for access, and it will make the biggest difference being the front of the house if I paint that first. And then I'll work my way around side by side. This side is most likely going to be the most challenging because of the height. I don't think I'll be doing that roof up there. I just want to change the wall color right now. But I will need to get a ladder from somewhere to reach the top here. I won't be putting scaffolding up, it's just me, and I'll be able to smash this out in probably 3 days, 4 days with the eaves. When it comes to color, you can go to the DIY stores, but it is very limited in range what you can get. So you have to find a paint supplier. That's going to be one of the biggest takeaways if you're going to paint your place in Japan, that you need to find a paint supplier close to you who can find the right paint that you need for the materials and the house condition that you have. And then they'll be able to give you some direction on what local paints they use. This is going to be different to what you'll find around the world. They do have some really great paints, but it's finding that paint. And what you see behind me are the color charts. And these are pretty nifty, actually. So they're good in some ways. They're good that you can just stick them behind the window here, and I'll show you what I mean here. And because they've got this soft edge, they are meant to slide in behind that window gap. And then you can check what you think about those colors. I wanted something darker to stand out and to kind of blend in. It might sound like counterproductive, but in Japan, a darker color like black is a normal color that you'd find on old traditional houses. I'm going for something slightly lighter that's still somewhat bold or will stand out, because I want it to be lighter for the sake of not absorbing all of the heat from the sun. Also, with the darker tints, it will fade quicker. So I'm looking for some kind of balance in between that. After looking at a lot of color charts, I ended up with these colors. And you might notice that this one's glossier, where this one, for example, is more or less matte finish. It's a flat finish. I actually preferred the flat finish, but for wear and tear, And to have a slight more reflection of snow and sun, I went for that glossier finish for now, and I'll see how that comes up. But my preference is actually this matte. It's kind of the popular one in right now in Japan. You'll find that at different houses internally and externally for painting. One of the frustrations with getting paint sample in Japan is that these take about a week to make. So once you choose the color that you think you like and you want to get a sample, you're not given a pot of paint. You're given one of these, at least at my supplier, they're all going to be different, but my supplier provides these kind of big boards, so you don't need to paint the walls. You can just have a look what they look like without destroying the walls or changing anything. But they take 1 week, and it's just another thing to account for timing in your building planning. I was going to rent a pressure washer for this job to wash down the walls, but I ended up buying one for around $120 brand new. It would have cost me around $30-40 a day, and I use the car wash places that have the pressure washers to wash my car anyway, so it works out for the long run for me.
My dad has been painting for a very long time, more than 50 years, and that's where a lot of my experience came from. I started working with him from a very young age when I was 12, 13, 14, during school vacations, that kind of thing. And as I got older, I kept working with him, and sometimes I even work with him now. It's been years and years of experience and knowledge gathering.
I started on the front and I'm washing down in sections, so I'm going to do this first before I paint it, then move on to the next side and wash down that side. I want everything to be as clean as possible right before the paint goes on.
There it is, all cleaned up. It's had a complete wash down, just with water. It's not powdery or anything on the paint, so it shouldn't be a problem at all to paint straight over this with the paint that I'm using. And the paint that I'm using is a silicone paint, and that's a popular exterior paint and interior paint too in Japan. Not something we use too much in Western countries. I did already undercoat the eaves here with an oil-based undercoat. This one was pretty bad, flaking and a lot of stains. And that first coat of undercoat has really blocked that out well. I did this like maybe 4 months ago actually. And that's done exactly what I wanted to do. It's just drying out now. Still wet from the wash down. One of the worst things for DIY in Japan is painting. And what I mean by that is these rollers and paintbrushes come from Australia. Purely because the stuff in Japan, for me, is crap. It's not good stuff. Let's see if I've got one here, a brush. Japan. I don't really have them. I threw them all away because they're terrible. So all of the stuff that I try to keep, I bring them from Australia because their stuff here is pretty bad. This is the paint I like to use. It's by Kikusui, the brand here. This is their premium product. I've tried the stuff from the DIY store and it is just not good. It's not like, as a standard, it's not good. So you have to kind of go to that premium product if you want to get a long lasting paint that has a better finish. It's a high quality paint and it's actually cheaper.
color on the walls. Happy with the results. Like a new house. You compare that to the side here. The old color. That creamy color and that new bold color. Yay! Next up we have an oil-based undercoat. That's this guy. And that's going to go on the eaves for my first coat to block out any of the potential rust that's made out of like a metal and aluminium, and any of the marks and stains that come through. This will sort it out. This is the end of the third day of painting, and this is how it's come up. Kind of dark because it's 7 p.m, but in 3 days I've managed to paint the walls, the fascias, the eaves, and that ladder. It's been a solid 3 days, but I haven't worked excessively. I've taken my time with the heat. It's been hot. Yeah, so I could say 3 or 4 days per side. There you can see the difference on the side. Complete color change. I love the new color. And while I've been doing this, I've had a lot of my neighbors come out and say, love the color, it's a good change, lots of compliments. It's always good when the neighbors like the color too.
Yeah.
I've actually hung up one of these massive plastic dragonflies, and I've got another one somewhere here to clip on my hat. It's supposed to stop these hornets from flying around. And in this area, so I've got this guy here hanging up. And in this area, I actually pulled down a huge nest about the size of my hand, about this big, from the corner over there. There gets a lot of action here from the hornets. Hopefully this has some effect. I'm not sure, I'm skeptical. But we'll find out. That's all I've got. Very excited today. I'm down to the last area. I've just got to finish off the eaves underneath here, and the fascias, and the windows. When I look at it and I see it, there's actually a lot more to complete than I think, but this should only take me a couple of days maximum. Super excited to be closer to finishing the house on the outside, at least just the painting element of it. Thank you for joining another one of my videos. This was one of my bigger challenges as it is a large job, it's very laborious, and just basically trying to plan this around when to do this and fit it all in because it is a big chunk of time. If I was to give any advice from my experience in Japan, it would be to prepare yourself if you come into Japan to paint your house, or if you're painting your house in Japan, to get the right brushes, the rollers, the roller sleeves, and the roller pole, also the roller tray, to fit the right size. In Japan, they really have a poor selection of what you can use for equipment, for painting equipment. It makes it pretty challenging if you're using bad stuff. The reason being is because they do like to use a spray in Japan. Spraying is more of a cost commitment, and it's not something I could afford to do, as usually you have to scaffold around your house, and scaffolding is not cheap. Then you need to run the equipment. It takes a bit more planning, preparation. Also with spraying, it doesn't give a solid thick coat of paint, so you have to do that multiple times. I was able to get away with just one coat on the walls because I could put it on thick and I could carefully check that as I was doing that. It will need another coat, but I'll do that maybe next year. It doesn't need to be done now. It's covered really well and the paint is great quality. For some lessons learned, one would be to find a good supplier if you're trying to do paint work in Japan. If you're using the DIY stores, you won't find a good selection of paint. It is very minimal. Colors are minimal. They do not mix paint for you. You have a small selection of colors. You need to find a paint supplier that specializes in paint. Even if you go to a paint supplier, they don't have the brushes and equipment that I mentioned before. I highly recommend bringing that from another country. I brought it from Australia with me so I could use better quality stuff. Another big lesson is the timing. I did this in summer. I knew what I was getting myself into, but it is very hot. I live at a little bit higher elevation. The altitude is a bit higher. It is a little bit more forgiving, but it is really hot. I couldn't imagine doing this in another town or a city that is a lower elevation. It is super challenging to work in this kind of heat. If you have any questions or comments about the painting, please drop it below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching.
Happy travels!